All right, here we are. Hi, Austin. How are you?
I'm good, Kelly. How are you?
Great. So, this is something I haven't really done before, like a video with another recruiter talking about recruiter things. But I think what we want to talk about today is so important that it really kind of deserves a recorded explanation on what we're doing here with this program. So, first, let's start out with an introduction. So, my name is Kelly Strout. I am a nurse recruiter for BJC at Barnes. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Austin Lambert. I am also a TA advisor, a nurse recruiter here with BJC. Have been here for about 10 months actually.
And before that, you had many more years, right, of
I don't
experience.
like to talk about it, but yeah, I've been in this role or a type of role now for 12 and a half years, mostly recruiting nurses in different capacities for different environments of nursing. So been communicating with nurses for a long time and trying to put them on the right track.
That's awesome. So I'm completely new to this role. I started in March, and I'm learning so much. I really, really love it. I enjoy it. I love talking to the nurses. But I think when I first started, I started talking to Austin because originally I was supposed to start supporting some neuro units right off the bat, and then that got postponed. But he was telling me about this program that they're doing for new nurses, and then now we're circling back. I went and supported other units, but now I'm coming back to the neuro side. And just recently, he's given me a really big update on things, and it's come a long way since we even last discussed it. So I want to kind of just get into the nitty gritty of what this is. It's called the Neuroscience Nurse Critical Care Development Program. And Austin played probably the biggest role in this program coming to life. So, Austin, tell us about the program and what people need to know.
Absolutely. So, number one, I want people to kind of stumble through it since it's 6 words, but it was the best way to describe it. But yeah, so the program that we've created is an 18-month program specifically for the neuro department over there with BJH. And basically, what we wanted to do is we wanted to give a pathway for nurses to potentially reach the critical care environment on their own terms. We understand that there are a lot of different options out there. And we know there's a lot of nurses maybe coming out of school or maybe that have been in the profession for a couple of years that have aspired to get to critical care some way, somehow, but it's not always the easiest to do. So we felt that creating an 18-month program that will allow you to train and communicate and learn and develop and make you ready for a transition like that it's really something that people have probably been looking for. We're lucky enough here at BJC that all the leaders and everybody that I work with really supported it and thought it was a great idea. So we put in 6 months of time to create all the details and everything that we needed to do. And now that program now has been live for about 2.5 months.
It's really amazing, and the work that you guys have put in this is commendable to say the least, because I think that it is going to be incredibly helpful for these candidates, these employees.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it. Like, what type of candidate is this program built for?
Yeah. So, when I was developing it along with, a lot of our managers there, what I had kind of done just in my experience over time have kind of seen 3 candidates that would be a really good fit for a program like this. So number one, maybe a candidate that was really interested in getting to a neuro ICU, which this program would allow you to do. But maybe for whatever reason, that unit is just not hiring at that point, right? Maybe they filled all their roles. Maybe they're in a transition between training periods, whatever have you. But we felt that might be a good candidate, and we want to try to hold on to them in any way that we can. So that would be the first. The second one would be maybe geared towards more of these newer nurses. Maybe you're just out of school, or maybe you're getting ready to graduate school, and you want to be in a critical care environment. That is the goal that you have. But maybe you just don't feel like coming right out of school and jumping into something like that is really the best fit for you. Maybe you want to go to an environment that you're comfortable in, learning and growing, and then when you feel like you're ready, transitioning. So that is another candidate that we feel would be really good for this program. And then the last one is that maybe, I am recruiting for the neuro ICU, and maybe they do have openings, and we have several candidates that are really, really interested. They go through that interview process, and at the end of that process, the leadership on the neuro ICU says, hey, these are some great candidates, but we don't feel like they are ready to make the transition into a critical area like this. But we feel that if they go somewhere, maybe somewhere inside our organization, if they get a year or so of experience, they will be ready. And we feel like they would be a great fit on this unit. All three of these opportunities, or all three of these scenarios, are ways to where we're saying, hey, we want to keep the candidate. We just have to figure out a way for them to get to where they want to get to. And that's what this program does.
Yeah. And there are some really important aspects that you've mentioned that are going to lead them to success throughout this process. So explain those for everybody and kind of tell them what they would look forward to if they did kind of go through this program, what it would look like for them.
For sure. So it's really nice. The neuro department as a whole, has 4 units, one of them being the neuro ICU, but the other 3 have their own specific traits to where they can really be helpful to nurses. So what would happen is that, that candidate would be hired on one of those other 3 units, and they would get the exact same experience that a lot of new nurses to BJC would get, right? They would get to get started on their start date. They would go through orientation. They would go through training on that specific unit, no matter how long it was. And then they would transition to being a nurse on that unit, working their 312s and doing what they would normally do. The biggest thing about this program is that we have added 4 different clinical elements to it that are going to help all the development that they're going to need to, at the end of the 18-month program, make a successful transition into an ICU unit. So the first thing is that we have, and I worked with all of our leadership to do this, we have created several clinical milestones that these candidates will be able to display and be able to show our clinical leadership over those 18 months that they will be able to successfully do all of those things. So that is one thing, that this is coming directly from clinical leaders of these units that feel like these things are really necessary to make a transition like this. Number 2, consistent communication. So you are going to be able to set up meetings monthly with your unit manager to talk about your progress, going through this program, and making sure, the highs, the lows, what we need to work on, what things you're doing great, all of those things will be consistently communicated, which we think is really important. Number 3, we really felt that staying connected with the neuro ICU during this is going to be really important. So what we've done is we are going to allow these candidates to shadow 3 different specific times in the neuro ICU, at 6 months, 12 months, and 15 months. And then directly after those shadows, have communication, have a meeting with the neuro ICU leadership. So not only are you getting to communicate with your current leader, but you're also communicating with your potential leaders as well. And they're giving you feedback. They're telling you good things, bad things, talking to you about your progression, all of that stuff. So we felt like that was important as well. And then the last part, which I've heard for about all 12 and a half years that I've been recruiting, is we are going to be able to create a mentorship type of program to where you will be specifically able to talk and discuss a lot of the ups and downs and highs and lows of nursing with a critical care nurse that is already experienced in working on that unit. So you can, ask for advice. They can help you when things get tough or when things are really, really good. So those are 4 things that we created that we really feel like are going to help the development process of these nurses, again, to where at the end of the day, they are making a successful transition into the critical care environment.
Awesome. It's amazing. And I think to take away from this, the biggest thing that I get is you're not alone in starting as a new nurse. We are a teaching hospital at Barnes. BJC as a whole is very supportive and wants people to succeed. And so they want their employees to succeed in everything that they do. So by creating this program, it gives the candidates a sense of ease coming into this new profession and being able to grow into a specialty unit such as an ICU. And so I think, I mean, I'm not a nurse, but I can imagine it's a very stressful job filled with lots of pressure. And I think it's awesome to offer an opportunity like this for someone to come in and kind of grow and learn to be the best that they can be. As far as the department as a whole, because I know we didn't really talk about that in the beginning of this conversation, but if you guys aren't familiar with Barnes-Jewish, or you're not familiar with the location, and correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, but the Department of Neurology at Barnes is the leading department in the state of Missouri, and it's nationally ranked. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah. And I think that, as I was kind of alluding to earlier, the three other units that are also with the neuro ICU that make up the neuro service line, they all kind of have their own little niche that, depending on what the candidate is looking for, it can really stick out to where the candidate can say, you know what, this is a comfortable environment. This is what I find really, really interesting. And this is a place to where I feel like I can learn and grow for 18 months. So for example, we, as a part of this service line, we have a neuro step down, which I know people have heard a lot about step downs, and it's a pretty critical area that itself, even though it's not to the level of a critical care. But those are definitely areas that really test you and get you ready for something like a critical care area. We have a neurosurgery unit that I know that the manager is very involved in everything that goes on there as far as education, especially as far as professional development, and staying connected with his nurses, which I know is a big deal to a lot of people. And then the last one is a neuromedicine innovation unit, which not only are they big into education as well, but they also have specific procedures and things like that on their unit that no other unit has in the entire hospital, and I believe in the entire organization. So that is a unit to where you could walk on there and gain experience that nobody else is getting. So again, we think the program is a great opportunity to potentially get to a critical care setting. But we think the other three units that you would potentially be starting on really provide their own little niches and really help with certain aspects of nursing to where you can use those skills in wherever you end up going 5, 10, 15 years down the line.
Anywhere. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more I talk to nurses, the more I realize that is such a big part of why they go into this field, is because they want to continue to grow and learn and have experience in different specialties. So I think that this is going to be wonderful. I do want to point out that, of course, we are also hiring experienced nurses on the units as well. This is just an opportunity that new nurses can be a part of to kind of make their transition easier. This program is the only program like it right now in the entire organization, right?
It is. And, I think the one thing that we were, somewhat proud of is that, when we were in the final stages of completing all aspects of it, there was some other individuals within the organization that showed some early interest in potentially implementing this, in other service lines and other departments. And I think, one of the things that you just hit on, Kelly, is really important, is that this is for a lot of different nurses. I think that what we kind of put out there is that it's with all types of backgrounds. And I think what this program does is it not only gives you a career path to get to where you want to get to, but it allows you with consistent communication to kind of prove yourself. To where not only do they hopefully feel at the end of the 18 months that you're ready to transition and you go ahead and do that, but so do you. And I think that is a big part of nursing as well, that, getting the training that you need, getting the feedback that you need, and being in a comfortable environment to where you feel like you are professionally really developing in the right way. I feel like that's what every nurse, especially coming out of school or maybe first time entering into the hospital, but you've been a nurse for 5 years. I feel like those are really the attributes that everybody kind of looks for. And it can be in neuro, and it can be in a lot of other places. But the one thing that we have that nobody else does right now is this program. that allows you to get to potentially to a neuro ICU that is ranked, in this area, potentially even in the Midwest. So I think that we're proud of that, and we are definitely excited to bring in more and more people to this program and help them get to where they want to go.
Love it. I absolutely love it. I think that this is going to do great things. I think it's probably going to be adapted by other departments. So eventually, it takes a lot of work, and Austin's gone out of his way to put all of this work into starting this up. So thank you, Austin, so much for that. But I think, it would be really cool to be a part of something new and fresh that is probably going to continue throughout the entire organization eventually. So what better way to start your resume, right, than to say that you were a part of this program that kickstarted all of the other programs. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to be the first to start something really big. So we want to share where you can go to apply, how you can contact us if you want to reach out to us and you have more questions. I think it's important to point out that as talent advisors, we're not just like cold callers who are trying to reach out to your inboxes all the time. We want to educate, and we want to teach you about the units that you could potentially be working in. And we know that the decision you have to make is a really big one as nurses. So it's okay. Like, call around, talk to different recruiters, shadow different units, find out what's going to fit best for you. But just don't ever worry about reaching out to us and asking questions, because it's why we're here, right?
For sure. Yeah, it's one of those things to where I've been talking to candidates about this now for several months, and the reason why it took us every bit of 6 months to create this is that we wanted to be ready for every question, every variable, every little subtlety that could be thrown at us, that where we were ready to make a be able to answer those questions or whatever have you. So being in this from kind of the start and kind of coming up with the idea and kind of creating the first aspects of it, that's what I'm here for. I want to be able to explain why this is going to be a little bit different from anything else that you've done. And I've been able to do that so far. And I look forward to people continuing to kind of test my knowledge on it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you're going to be working with the best physicians in most of the country even. So I think that's a lot to say about it too. All right. Well, if you want to apply, then you can go to www.bjc.org/jobs. If you want to reach out to Austin or myself, these are our emails. I'll put them in the description as well. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, so you can look for me there. We're also both on LinkedIn. And so Austin's constantly posting really great opportunities. He's all over it on LinkedIn. So be sure to reach out and ask questions. That's all I have. You got anything else, Austin?
I don't. I look forward to talking to all you guys, and I appreciate the time today, Kelly.
Thank you. Bye.